Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. If you've ever tried to answer emails with a toddler pulling at your sleeve, or you've wondered how to grow your business while chasing after your dreams and probably your kids, then you're in the right place because every week we'll get real about the wins, the messes, and all the magical moments in between. We have practical tips, honest stories, and the laughs that keep us going. So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. And I'm your host, Amariah Murdoch. And if you're looking for operational support so you can actually live and be in a business that you enjoy, then we definitely need to connect. But today we are going to focus on harmony and peace and alignment with our wonderful guest, Amy. And Amy, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm thrilled to be here. It's
Oh,
such a nice opportunity to have meaningful conversations on these topics.
no, we are so honored. I mean, I have to tell y'all, I came across Amy on LinkedIn and I was just mesmerized because she has such a calming, grounded energy. And it's just kind of, addicting when everything is the hustle and go and figure it out and keep going, especially as moms. And so we're absolutely thrilled to have you. And for those of you who don't know Amy, her background sits at the intersection of lived experience and professional expertise. And she knows what it feels like to be stretched thin, trying to do it all work and at home, and yet still feeling like there aren't enough hours in the day. And so after years in HR and business coaching, she saw firsthand the impact when mothers don't have the support they need to thrive at work or at home. And she founded her coaching practice to help women create sustainable work-life rhythm that align with their values, family, and work goals. And that is huge. I don't know. I think a lot of people coach, but there's not a lot of people coming from that angle to help women too in particular. So Amy, we are just thrilled to have you on and we're just going to dive in.
Yeah.
You've lived both the corporate grind and the chaos of motherhood. What moment made you realize that you needed to create more harmony in your own life?
Mm.
And which one would you say is more crazy? Is it working in corporate or is it just being a mom?
Being a mom pops the cake because it permeates everything, as we know. But no, I appreciate the introduction, and I'm so glad that you saw that in me. Restoring that sense of calm for moms is such a core part of the work that I do, and such a core piece of the gap that I've been seeing for so long. In my time in HR, I saw that kind of disconnect of support, and I think that it really drew me to figuring out, I need to find a way to better holistically support people and understand their vision for their life. And so it's been nice as far as like something that drove me to take the leap for myself was really just understanding the more I spoke to people and understand that people thought they would have community and support and a village around them and experiencing that for myself as a mom, I really felt like I could be doing more to bridge that gap and to help people find the resources and the support they need in a really noisy world where there's so much thrown at us all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's, even for me, I just think in the past week, just trying to quiet my mind and
Mm,
find my grounding again and
mm,
understand how to move forward. And again, coming back in touch with who are you after you become a mom, right?
mm,
Re-identifying that identity but
mm.
also realizing there's two pieces to it, I think. And I want you to speak to this, and this is kind of going off on a detour for a
Yeah.
second. But after you become a mom, there's this idea of, okay, I need to rediscover who I am. There's that piece of it because now you've birthed a child or, C-section or whatever it is you've adopted. I mean, it's all motherhood. And then you, at the same time, you've got a child, you have a human being or human beings who are depending on you almost every
Mm,
second of the day in different ways, even as they grow.
mhm,
And then you're rediscovering who you are, but then there's also the piece of you are always who you are, even
mhm,
before you were a mom.
mm,
So there's almost this like dichotomy of you have to rediscover and redefine what it means for you as a
mm.
mom. And it's like, how do you keep and hold on to the you that's still you and always will be, right?
Yeah.
just a little bit. I'm curious, how do you navigate those two pieces? And is it
Mm.
possible for them to be in the same person?
I love what a beautiful question. You're right. Like, I completely feel the rediscovering and I hear it all of the time. And what's standing out to me is the space. I don't think that a lot of the times we really prioritize the space to rediscover who we are, to understand who we are now, to even identify what our needs are right now in this season, because they're ever evolving. And so, even if something worked really well for you 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, it doesn't matter, like, you may need something really different right now. And so allowing yourself the space to rediscover and figure out right now, today, in this season, who are you? What is your relationship with your goals and who you're becoming? And are you really crystallizing that first for yourself? And so that's why the first stage with anyone I work with, it's really sitting in this space of clarifying, because I think that adds so much confusion and chaos, really, to things, whether you're in corporate or in your own business. I think you're required to kind of hold space for your own vision first. And then I don't know if you've ever heard someone say, like, oh, like, things just kind of like I decided what I was doing and the pieces just fell into place, or, then everything just kind of happened, or, it's kind of describing this domino effect. But the clarity is so vital for that to happen, because then you're able to communicate to other people, what do you need? What does support look like? What are you building? And they are able to prop you up in certain ways and contribute in certain ways that they just can't otherwise. So I think it's really important for moms to be able to allow themselves the opportunity to crystallize for themselves first what the vision, allow themselves to have some clarity. And to the point of your question about how the two exist, like, I love when you're mentioning the old parts of ourselves and how they, tether to us. But a word that I use a lot in my coaching and my writing and in a lot of spaces is intentionality. And sometimes, even though there's something really core to who we are and how we operate, it can be from a place of fear, of survival, of limitation, like, even if it's serving us well. And so when we think about, like, those core attributes, one of mine is genuinely compassion. And our strengths can serve us, but they can also push so far that they become detrimental to ourselves. And so I need to find the ways to self-manage and regulate. And I think for women who have some of these strengths that sometimes are celebrated and rewarded, and you're bending over backwards for other people. And so it's kind of like, do more of that. Like, that's great. People love that. And so you really need to be intentional to decide for yourself, no, this is the boundary I need to be in place to serve me.
Yes. No, that is, man, boundaries. And that's actually a part of the tagline for the podcast. It's real talk for all things babies, business, and boundaries. And
Mm,
so I love how that just naturally is organically coming in the conversation. I think one thing that comes to mind immediately for myself is I have been so busy.
mm,
I'm a breadwinner too, if I'm just
mhm,
a mompreneur. I need to help pay the bills. Like, what I
mhm,
bring in is our bread and butter. And so
mhm,
there's a certain pressure that, yeah, I could take a maternity leave, but
mhm,
after that, I got to get right back to it. I need to keep up with the clientele and everything that's happening in my team. And thankfully, I'm in a position where I have a team and my business is built to a certain degree before I came into motherhood, but it's still a lot. And I've been going so much. And I was talking with a coach, business coach recently, and she said,
mhm,
I'm hearing a lot of shoulds. I should
mm,
be this. I should do that. I should, or that shouldn't happen. I should
yeah.
be here right now. Right. And I think she said that those shoulds became so much that I don't even know who or where I am anymore.
Mhm,
And so I would be curious to hear your thoughts on what would you say to the mom who is doing the things that everyone tells her she should be
mm,
doing, but she's still coming up empty
mm.
and she's wondering why or how she lost herself in that process.
Yeah. And I feel like when that happens, wondering how you got there and also wondering what to do next because the shoulds don't stop. They keep piling onto you. And I really appreciate you sharing that because it's so honest. And I feel like even just the honesty of sharing that is so helpful to other people who feel those shoulds piling on. And even the progression of the shoulds turning into I wish I would have, the woods, like so much internalization. And so it's a really important thing to consider, I think. But the shoulds are a yellow flag to me. It's maybe like orange whenever someone's doing that in sessions, because you're right. I think that there is so much expectation and internalization of those expectations. And for us to really consider what's possible for ourselves takes some disengagement with it all, with what's being thrown at you, and real disruption of just, going with the ebbs and flows of the day, because before you know it, if you keep following along, you're going to end up in an outcome that was just never something that you wanted because you were going along with the motions. But the shoulds, it's really important to, because those are getting thrown at us so much, it's really important that we want to be clear with having space for our own creativity, because I feel like that's the part that's missing when we keep, like, going with the motion and going with what we should do. It's like, well, now you're it's weighing on you. The outside, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, that's what's next. You're not allowing yourself to tune inward and to really figure out, oh, like, actually, this is what I want to do, or, let me have some open space in my schedule. And this comes up a lot with moms that I work with, is where do your best ideas actually come to you? It's not when you're sitting there grinding it out, at your desk because it's 9 o'clock. For most of us, that's just not the case. It comes when we actually allow ourselves some breath, some deep breathing space to disengage with what we're doing. And so I think that becomes really vital, just like the shift of thinking about how you create downtime for yourself, how you embrace stepping away with what you quote unquote should be doing for everyone. But I think especially as a mompreneur, if you're in your own business, it just feels like you have to just keep pushing. Everything is on you.
Yeah.
And so, where is that gap in your schedule, the freedom, the flexibility, so that you can come up with fresh new ideas and be inspired by what you truly want to do, not what you should do?
Yeah, absolutely. Something else comes to mind because it's interesting. You say disengage in order
Mm,
to reconnect with you for a minute,
mm,
but you have to disengage from all the noise in order to do that. And it's funny because it sounds like opposites, right? You're
mhm,
disengaged to connect,
mhm,
to engage in a different
mhm,
way. And it reminds me of something I've been thinking about, and I was going to post about this, and I still might on LinkedIn, but this idea that, so you know how they say like you ran a 40-week marathon when you're pregnant, like it is
mhm,
intense. And then we come out of that and then we go into recovery and then we go straight back into work depending on where we are and who we are.
mhm, mhm,
And when I hit burnout recently, I realized that I had to slow down to speed up again. It's almost
mm,
like I started this marathon and I sprinted and then I ran out of juice and I was like, I can't just stop running. I have to keep going.
mm,
So I'm just going to slow my pace, right?
mm,
So slowly, I'm still going, but it's not as fast and it's not as much and I don't feel as accomplished, but I'm just slowing down so I can
mm,
my, recharge and then
mm,
regain my pace that's more steady versus the sprint.
mhm,
Because what I was told was the sprint in life will get you there faster. The sprint means you're successful because you're hitting all these milestones quickly. The
mm,
sprint is what you need to do. If you want to be successful, you've got to work harder, you've got to go fast, whatever, right? But I'm realizing that I have to slow down to speed up.
mm,
And so again, it's that idea of the opposites that I just
mhm,
think is interesting to get to where you actually want to be. I mean, same idea with boundaries. We have to actually have boundaries in order to have peace. It's not
mm,
just anything and everything happen to keep peace. That's not peace,
yeah.
right? One thing that I would like your thoughts on is, what is the number one pain point you would say that you hear from the mothers that you're working with? And how do you address that in your coaching?
Yeah, kind of tied with what you were just saying, because as you were describing all of that, what's standing out to me is the quote, the Tutu Desmond quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think for a lot of people, it is like, even though I am talking about this like you said, the disengagement to re-engage, it's like getting the clarity and doing that self work first, but then leaning on others. And really, for me in motherhood, I really found that I had to intentionally design others and what the people I was allowing, in my network, in my community, allowing myself to put time and energy into really needed to shift. Like I needed to think about those people who are pulling around me differently than I ever had before. And I think for a lot of moms, to answer your question, like it's this endless to-do list. It's this just adopted grind. Like we don't even think about it. Like you said, someone is constantly leading you. You're caring for someone else on top of all of the demands and responsibilities to keep your life running, your work running, all of these things. And so, with all of these constant demands weighing on you, sometimes leading to burnout, you really have to figure out again what you need. And that is why a lot of moms come to me is like the to do list. They feel like they can never catch up. They do a lot and still it feels like it's not enough. Those tend to be the reasons people come to me. Doing the work of honestly, prioritization, like prioritizing what is the one core thing that we really need to emphasize right now, what is most important in this season. And that's how I work with my clients is prioritizing one core goal per season. I almost always get pushed back on that. And I'm like, I'm a busy mom. I have so many, like, how can I choose one thing? And so I think even that is really interesting because I don't think a lot of moms give themselves enough credit is like a first thing. You are doing so much and to actually acknowledge that and celebrate the progress that's being made instead of just chugging along and grinding it out, because that alone can really help disrupt the path to burnout where you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and you're not sure where you're getting. Well, instead now, like, let's look at where you're going. Let's actually, pay attention to like what milestones you're hitting and like understand where you are on path to your bigger goal. Like, even that alone can be a huge thing to help someone with their relationship to work and how they're dating work, but also wanting to make sure that moms find sustainable support. Because what I tend to find with my clients is that they'll initiate, I got a cleaner this month and it's really going to help me to like, towards this launch, or I'm having somebody help, this week for, watching the kids or like picking up the kids while I work on this. And I think taking the big picture and
Hmm.
actually figuring out, like, sometimes a mom will set up a carpool situation and each parent takes a different day and now they have a consistent pickup schedule, like alleviation with that process, and it's long term and like actually gives you that freedom and space that we were talking about. You have some creative space, you're allowing yourself some breathing room long term. And the way we think about doing that in our schedules, not just as a one time thing, but really creating some integration, some balance in our routines. And I love that with things like the carpool example, so much of that just naturally ends up being things deepen your ties with your community. These are parents you might just, not, you want to be more friendly with, or I hear all the time, like, oh yeah, I'd love to get together. We're all so busy. But like now that you're incorporating one another in your routines, you have systems you're building out with one another, it's easier to form real meaningful connection.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting because we often overlook what we already have, right, at our disposal. And then we're like looking for things outside of ourselves. But we either already have it around us or within us, which that's a whole other thought. One thing though, I really need to ask, because this has been on my mind since you've been talking, is when it comes to putting yourself first as a mom.
Mm,
Okay. There's this idea that you should put you first. But like when you mentioned earlier, the idea of bending over backward for everyone, like you're everything to everyone, you're helping. I mean, like you
mm,
just are, right? We end up being the glue. There was a mom I spoke with recently. She's a corporate worker, has a lot of kids. And she said, I don't put myself first, but I do things for myself. So
mm,
I will still make room for myself where I'm taking care
mm,
of but I don't put myself first. My kids are my priority. And so my question to you is, what's the right way to look at that idea? Are we
mm,
supposed to put ourselves first,
mm,
or are we supposed to make room for ourselves?
mm.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think the idea to me is that habits need to be adopted in bite-sized pieces for them to be lasting. And so I find that for a mom to today, be bending over backwards for everyone, and then tomorrow be, taking up all the space and making it all about her feels unrealistic to me. And I talk to my clients about that all the time. It's like we want to make sure we're thinking about realistic goals. And so when I think about a lot of the moms that I work with, it's not going to be like you all of a sudden become the star of the show. We're
Mhm.
raising people and actually showing them what their relationship to their families, their work, their well-being look like. And so I think when you're describing so much of what you've described about like the spending over backwards and like the go, 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 and you just kind of bring to hustle and you're managing your business, my thing is taking a step back and saying like, "But why are you doing that?" And when you really get into the why, it's like, "Oh, well, like I need to provide for my family. I want, my son to see me, doing all of these things and, all of the pieces of it."
Hmm.
But how we engage with our own work and with caring for ourselves, that's what our kids see. So if you are never taking time for yourself and you are never putting yourself first, like really think about that. Is that the example you want to set? Is that how you want your kid to go through the world as an adult, navigating the world and putting everyone above themselves? And so I think those kinds of questions are the ones where it's like there will be pockets of time that are for you, and nobody's going to make those pockets happen if you don't.
Hmm.
So, like, I am realistic with that. And I'll also be realistic. Like, life is busy with real things, and sometimes it starts with being really intentional with brushing your teeth and like giving yourself some breathing exercises and collecting yourself to set the tone for the day or thinking about your ideal outcome for your day, like small things. And even as I say that, I think like these days we get very overwhelmed with the wording that's thrown at us. And I think people say like morning routine, you need to have like an evening, like everything needs to be this regiment, and that can be really overwhelming. If you're a mom who like can barely find, 5 minutes, 15 minutes to herself to think that you have to
Hmm.
coordinate this whole routine, it's like, where is the time going to come from? And so just bite-sized pieces, whatever that looks like for you, a 15-minute walk, quick breathing exercise you do before your next meeting. Like, don't overcomplicate it and don't overshoot right from the beginning.
No, I love that. I love the realistic piece of it because it's funny, like, depending on who we are, whether a businesswoman or a mom working,
Mhm.
we help other people be realistic. But
Mm,
then when we mirror it back to us, it's like it's way more difficult, which then just brings in the value that I can see in working with you or someone even like you who can speak into that as an outsider and
mm,
say, hey, let's reevaluate, let's recalibrate. That's very,
mm,
very valuable. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask as well is you often talk about creating sustainable work life rhythms.
mm.
What does that mean? And more or less, what does that process look like with your clients?
Yeah, the working rhythms I think are so important. On bigger scale, it's thinking about the seasonalities, not just, I think we tend to think about like big long-term goals, and it can feel like you don't know where to start. Or for some people, procrastinate because it's just like it's this big goal. And so it's like the clarifying when I was talking about starting with clients there, it's really understanding even the relationship to the goal in timeline pieces. Because sometimes when we think about a goal and we break it out, it's like, hold on, like that thing that you're worrying about and it's like consuming you, that actually is a 3-year goal. So, like,
Mhm.
what piece of it do we actually need to worry about right now? And I think it's really important for parents, especially sometimes I work with a mom, and no matter the season of life that her kids are going through, if it's starting a new daycare, or if it's, going to be shifting schools, sometimes I work with people who are going to be empty nesters and they're thinking about that transition of getting their kid into college and all of that. And so if somebody comes with like a really big work goal, they have a new launch, they have a new business that they're launching, like all sorts of different things. They're working towards promotion in their organization, like all sorts of really exciting things. We take a step back and think about quarter by quarter. What does it really look like? If you're going to be evaluating new daycares and you really want to feel confident and comfortable with your choice, like how much time is it going to take to go on interviews, see a couple of different places, manage emotionally that transition. And same thing across the different phases as your children evolve. It's like, if I worked with people where their kid is looking at schools in different states and it's like, okay, you're gonna be touring schools all the year before. And when it's the outside perspective of like, let's really think about timelines here and what does that look like? Those are all planned things. And so I just want to say too, like the flip side of that is that when you're dealing with things that are unplanned, someone gets sick, you're moving your parents in to live with you unexpectedly, like you become more of a caregiver than you already are. Like those things too, really assessing how does this change your relationship with your goals, recalibrating and being realistic with yourself and with the support that you need. I think it's so tremendously valuable because not just for ourselves and to understand our own goals in our business and to have that clarity, but a lot of the women I tend to work with, this comes up so often, tend to attract people similar to them. Compassionate, understanding, like, wanting to support one another, like all of these great things. The way that that shows up in our business sometimes is when they see you have a lot going on, they say, "Oh, Amariah is so busy right now. Like, oh, she just moved in her mom to live with her. Like, I wanted to send my friend to go work with her, but now is not the right time. Like, she's too busy. Like, how could she possibly?" And so, even communicating our business goals and our relationship and engagement with our clients, with our coworkers, it leads to the wrong outcome because people don't know what you want unless you tell them. And
Yeah.
so saying, hey, I'm actually ready for that promotion, saying, hey, referrals tremendously support my business. If you know someone, like, I'm ready, this is a season for growth for me. Like, people don't realize it. And so it's so important that you're able to, take that in, give yourself the time to assess where you are, get the clarity, and really share that, not just, in your internal network of supports, but like find a way to engage with your audience and with clients to so they're better able to support you.
Yeah.
I don't know
That
if I answered the question.
Oh, no, I love that. I love that. That is so helpful, and that's actually we need more open discussions about this, and so I absolutely love the direction that went. Um, I want you to briefly tell us before we close, tell us about your online community, and also what does harmony, so to harmony, mean to you? Those 2
Yeah,
items.
100%. Harmony is something that came up for me because when I would talk to clients and they were like, "Oh, I'm not balanced. I need more balance, work-life balance." It became this thing that just sounded overwhelming, and I could see it for them. Like they were burdened by that. And so I shifted to work-life harmony and describing it as that because for me, it just feels like this ebb and flow where all of those examples I shared, like you may have a season where your kids need more from you, and that's okay to be able to like adjust things or recalibrate or say, hey, I'm going to intentionally take more time off in the summer. I want to be there with them. I want to do certain things and increase your time and energy in work for a different season when your business requires it. And so the harmony just kind of like allowed people to take that weight off of their shoulders a little bit, and the community element of that, I feel, is so connected to the harmony because seeing examples, being in community with other women who are, trying new things in their business, engaging, falling down, and getting back up, using resources, tools, elements of their business that they've just found are best for them and support them. It's so helpful to not have to go at your own and to really be able to see, so and so is doing this. Oh, like this is an idea that might work for me. I have a question about a tool or which AI tool is best. What are you guys finding is best for editing? Like all of these different things to have people who you've gotten to know, who you trust to turn to. I personally find it so valuable, but for moms, I was hearing again and again, like sometimes you go to your family and they think you are out of your mind for going into business or you don't find that necessarily a support. Sometimes some of the moms in the group, it's like their kids are in different activities and that is their social network. It's just the way that the time works out. So to be able to come online and find this community of other moms who get it, are doing the things that you're doing, growing and learning and developing in the ways that you want to, and actually want to collaborate and support your work is just, I find that it's really hard to come by these days. And so building community with, meaningful connections with people you're aligned with is so tremendously valuable. And for me, I only do collaborations with people I feel really aligned with. It's why I'm here today. It's why I, just really am able to thrive when I position myself in that way. And so I hope that more moms find that sense of community and find that sense of aligned growth by joining whatever community works well for you. But mine's is the harmonious mom community, and that's really what we are focused on.
I love it. No, I love it. This is so good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this space and this moment with us. And man, I already just feel so calm right now. And we haven't even done anything. We just talked. So I love it. Absolutely love it. And then for those of you who are listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on Mompreneurs Making Moves. And if you found a little encouragement, a fresh idea, or just felt seen and heard, through what we were talking about, definitely subscribe, share with your mompreneur friends. And remember that every small step you take in your life and in your business matters. And you are absolutely not alone on this journey. Keep showing up, keep making moves, and don't forget to take care of yourself too. And we'll see you next time on Mompreneurs Making Moves. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mompreneurs Making Moves. And then you can watch the full interview on our YouTube channel at Mompreneurs Making Moves Official. Amy, thank you again so much. And for those of you who want to connect with her, which I highly recommend, at least follow, at the very least, we'll have her links below this episode. And I easily foresee having her on again at some point because this was just delightful. So thank you again, Amy.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me.